Welcome back to another episode of the Legacy Podcast. We're in today for episode 139 and joined by another guest. Now, our guest today, very excited for this episode. Usually sort of the guest that we have on would sort of come from sort of Instagram, but sort of we've been following each other for quite a while. We're sort of on the same frequency with things, but I actually sort of found you mainly through TikTok. I think it was sort of the back in the lockdown where things started to come up. And
Yeah,
things have just leveled up and progressed from there. So I'll hand you over to his guest. If you just want to give a bit of an intro to yourself and tell us what you do and just take it away.
sweet. Really know what to say with this sort of stuff, but my name's Ryan Turner. Basically, just follow a natural progression of sort of what I want to do, and I'm kind of guided by
Mm.
something internal, really.
Yeah,
I get in my own way, just like anyone.
yeah,
But so I've got a gym which is sort of a little bit private, starting to open to the public a little bit more.
mm.
I coach people online, and just try and be better each day, really.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'm not, sometimes I am.
yeah. You as well, obviously, one of the sort of standout reasons I wanted to get you on the episode is you're sort of really in tune with your purpose, your why. You know, for example, you've been getting a lot of questions on when you're going to be competing. You've got a set
Yeah.
vision in place. Everything has almost like a mapped out in a stage format. In regards to obviously forming your why, you know, why it is that you do what you do, why is that so important to you? And how did you actually sort of create that?
Um, I think. Do you follow Bedros Keuilian? I never know if I say
Yeah,
his name right.
yeah. Bedros
So
Keuilian.
there's a few things he says, like um, purpose over pleasure,
Mm,
and he says your purpose and vision drive every decision. So, and my hoodie says purpose driven for that
mm,
reason. It's sort of inspired by him. Um, and basically, if you don't know where you're going, you're a bit lost, aren't you?
course,
So you
yeah.
need to know where you're going, and with that driving every decision,
Yeah,
how do you know what decisions to make on a daily basis if
yeah,
you don't know what you're working towards? I was having to think about this earlier, and yeah, it's a bit of a funny one though. I think a lot of people get confused and
yeah,
they don't know what their purpose should be. Um, Whereas I think it's more just overcoming problems in your life,
yeah,
finding solutions to those things, and sharing that, and you'll just naturally find what you want to do. So for me, I naturally, when I started learning about training, I just really enjoyed sharing that. And it was
mm,
really good to get that sort of what's it called eureka moment for someone else.
mm.
So just sort of rolling with that, and just sort of one thing leads to the other.
Yeah, of course. I think as well when it comes to, you know, defining a purpose and a why, one of the mistakes is one, people don't go deep enough, and two, the other one is they almost do it for validation of other people. And it's something that we did mention on the most recent episode. Often sort of, and I think especially with sort of like TikTok and social media, people want to become something or someone for the validation of other people. Is this sort of
Yeah,
something you've seen or something that you've seen other people do per se?
definitely. I think it's a funny one, isn't it? You need to be validated through your actions,
Yeah,
not through someone else. Because then when you're not getting that validation, are you going to keep acting in the way you usually get validation through your actions from other people through your actions? They validate you for what you do. If you
yeah.
get confused on that and you're just after the validation and it goes away,
Mm,
you're not you don't understand that the validation actually came through your actions, and you validate yourself through that, which is
yeah,
why people sort of notice that, if that makes sense.
yeah,
I think if you get confused with that, you can get a little bit lost.
yeah. I've always found as well when it does come to sort of defining your goals, your reasons, your why, I always like to break things down to the granular form. So just break things down as simple as possible. You know, you obviously competing, you run in the gym, that will obviously make you feel a certain way. It's the definition of success for you will look different. And most people just need to break things down and just think what it is that they want to achieve. When they achieve those things, how are they going to feel? And is it for the better nature of them? And, you know, I just find that by having a why, and again, I sort of quite a bold statement on the other episode. I feel like as especially as men, obviously the social media and the direction I've taken, it's mainly male dominant now. But I feel like as a man, your why and your name are really the only two things that we have. Everything outside of that is quite sort of superficial and fake because it can change anytime. So it's almost
Yeah,
out of your control. But having your why, being in tune with your vision, your purpose, As long as you can have that, everything else will find its way to you in a more fruitful and beneficial way.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. Are you as well, I guess, obviously, on the lines of Bedros Keuilian, are you sort of familiar with the whole sort of like stoicism and philosophy? Is that something that you like to look into as well?
It's not something I've really dove into specifically. Like I haven't really read books or anything, but I do naturally stumble across those posts
Yeah.
through the stuff that I engage in.
Yeah.
And then I have sort of started to look into some
Mm.
more stuff, and it's just like training. You find sources and
Yeah.
things start to stick. You share something with someone else, teach someone something else, and now it's in your head.
Exactly.
So definitely the philosophies and or whatever we call them definitely do speak to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, like with me, it resonated highly just because I found that when again stumbled across these posts, stumbled across these pages, it sort of put what I was thinking and what I was feeling into words. You know, a lot of the Stoic philosophers, they live in like BC eras. So these guys have been around thousands of years before us. And it's just amazing to see the knowledge that can be passed down, and whether it be philosophy, whether it be modern day training methods, there's so much that can be learned just by being open-minded. I think as
Yeah,
well, especially in the fitness industry, we see a lot of narrow-mindedness and a lot of closed-mindedness, particularly with coaches, particularly with people that, you know, are new to certain things. I feel like just by being open-minded can set you levels apart from everybody else.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I
yeah,
guess,
you can't, everything, can you? Everyone
yeah.
knows that.
Yeah, I think even as I'm reading books and I'm listening to stuff, you know, I've seen a lot of your videos. You see a lot of this stuff where the more that you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Like I feel like now I'm at the peak in regards to knowledge and stuff like that. I'm the best I ever have been, but at the same time, I'm still a student of the game, and I feel like if you can commit yourself to being the apprentice rather than the master, you're always going to be in a position to win.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. I guess as well, sort of looking into because you sort of diversified since I initially followed you, it was actually through the first, I think one of the first videos I seen it was you with Kale, and it was when I think it was back in lockdown when obviously it was your private facility, so obviously by default you was allowed to train there. And obviously
Yeah,
since talking over the past sort of 12 to 24 months, you've obviously started out with your private facility and you've sort of diversified within the fitness industry. And most people think that, you know, as a fitness industry, you're either a coach or a trainer, but you've obviously had your own actual facility. You've then obviously gone into online coaching. You know, you've sort of got people that come into the gym, really good with sort of affiliate marketing in the people that you do speak to and network with. And then obviously you got the subs and the clothing. Where
yeah.
did everything start to sort of go right back? Where did obviously intent come from? Why did you go around the route of a private facility? Where did it all begin?
It all just happens by accident, to be honest, which sounds really strange. Um, but like I sort of said at the start, I just kind of follow my intuition with things.
Yeah.
So I was actually speaking to my girlfriend about this
Mm.
yesterday. If I were to look back at where I was when I was 17,
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was share what I was learning.
Right.
And that's sort of, I was helping my friends for over the last 10, 11 years with
Mm.
whatever they need. And then I stumbled across a business opportunity. I used to skate, like skateboarding,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I saw a company. This was about a year or two before lockdown. Saw a
Mm.
company called Keen Ramps in America,
Mm.
and they didn't ship here. I was a carpenter by trade,
Right.
um, and I just started building skate ramps. I wanted them, and then I knew that there was nothing like that in the UK, and other people would want them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much my whole. I'm no expert with business, but all I do is wing it basically and go, well, if I like this and I'm into this, someone else would probably like it too. If
Yeah.
I've got this problem, someone else will need this solution. And the skate ramps went really well.
Mm.
I got a little bit too busy, bit off more than I could chew, and it did sort of take a toll on me because I wasn't able to, like I said earlier, success is different for everyone.
Mm.
And like Bedros talks about, um, I can't remember what he says, but it's like fitness, finance, and family.
Mm.
And I really didn't have the balance. I was going after finance, but my fitness had suffered. I'd lost all the muscle that I'd spent years gaining, which I really enjoyed the training,
Mm.
and I didn't really see my family for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lockdown, that company blew up
Yeah.
because everyone was in their house, and then off the back of that, me and my friend's family didn't have anywhere to train. I had a storage container out the back of my unit where I was building the ramps, just with like a 1-inch barbell and like a plate loaded cable stack. We're making some good progress, and then I needed to expand the ramp business. I needed somewhere to store the stock, the products. So I got a second unit, and then we moved the weights there, but I got carried away with buying machines. I had some lads working for me at the time, so they were able to sort of keep building the ramps for me. They sort of knew what they were doing, and I just started getting, to be honest, FOMO. Like, just got scared of missing out on these machines because I just really wanted them. It was a little bit stupid, a little bit weak, because it wasn't the smartest move. But I think because I'd neglected that side of me for so long, that I love training, that I just wasn't worried about taking a bit of money and putting it into that, to the point where I literally got so sort of, what's the word? I just so consumed by the gym and getting new machines and growing it and everyone coming and enjoying it, like my friends that hadn't been able to train, that I kind of lost interest in the ramps. Materials had skyrocketed. It wasn't quite as profitable, and it just pulled me away from what I really wanted to do. So then with meeting Kale down there, fast forward a year, we had place was boarded up. I actually lived there for a bit just because I thought, if I don't have to pay a grand rent, I can buy an extra machine each month. Just that consumed by just buying more machines. It was just all I wanted to do. And then obviously other people wanted that as well. Started getting friends of friends who were already down there coming down. Sort of met Kale. Kale sort of honestly put me on with TikTok. And that was the point. I think I got up to like 25,000 followers on TikTok very quickly, within like a month. And it was like, okay, I was holding on to the other business because it was like an opportunity, even though I wasn't that interested anymore. It was like, this is good business. If I can get it all, like the profit margins right again. But then I just started thinking, okay, well, it's not actually an opportunity now. It's holding me back from something that's actually coming to fruition here. And that's pretty much it. Then I just went all in on, I sacked that business off, liquidated it, sold my van because I didn't need it. Really simplified everything and just spent all my time at the gym, just making videos. And then, to be honest, it's nothing I do is the best way. I could go all in on coaching. I could go all in on the pushing the gym. And these are kind of little distractions, to be honest. Like you got moving like a couple inches in 5 directions rather than 5 inches in one direction. So I could be further along without these distractions. But these are things I really enjoy. I'm able to sort of put something that I like on it, and I don't know. I've waffled a bit there, but I just kind of do things that I want and need. Supplement. I use Trained by JP supplements. It'd be nice to have them at cost, so it's like, oh, everyone else needs supplements. Just things that just make sense. Follow my intuition and just roll with it, really.
I mean, to be fair, I know obviously it's evident the way that you conduct yourself is very much on passion and sort of purpose, which in essence, if you look up passion and purpose in the dictionary, it's a blanket term, it's subjective. So it's going to be different from everyone else, and it's going to differ from person to person. But even, for example, I like to look into the market, and I have another business that focuses on like digital marketing agencies. So even if we was to go into the black and white stuff, everything that you've said works out. Again, it is black and white correct. People by people, and when it does come to building a brand with the scale that you've got to be seeing those kind of numbers in a month, people by people, and they've bought into the journey. You know, obviously you've committed yourself to your purpose, committed yourself to what you want to achieve. You let it consume you. My sort of, understanding on the whole balance, and obviously Bedr also mentioned, family, finance, and business. But I do think that when you aren't where you need to be, and when you don't have that sort of level of success, there almost can't be a sense of balance. I find like the whole concept of balance is a bit of a scam at times. So the fact that you have certain stuff consume you at times is a defining factor as to where you're at now. You know, because the intention Gymnasium, it really is just sort of you running it, isn't it? You're sort of head of operations. So, and obviously you've got a lot of people coming into the gym now, but you sort of really built this, I guess, on your own in some ways, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend helped me when I overspent. I'd go, how much you got in your savings? I found some dumbbells and
Yeah.
take all the savings and buy some stuff, and the same with the first business, she helped me start that. But yeah, balance is a funny one. It depends on your priorities at the time.
Yeah.
So at that time, my priority was that. So it was like everything else takes a back seat, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Towards the end of it, it was like my priority is now training again. It's me, and it's making sure my friends and family can train, so they don't go backwards. So then my priority shifted again. So that's why you can't be too tied to a certain routine or life structure, I think, or a certain things have to be fluid and flexible. Otherwise, you kind of just, I don't know, you're trying to find something that's not real, that balance, and it just can't be that way. Sometimes you need to put other things first. If you got a family member that's on their deathbed, that's your priority. You're going to be there. That's going to come before your fitness and your finance. So I guess it just works like that.
It's just being adaptable as well. Like I think, and I particularly picked this up in lockdown, is that, and again, this is something that Stoicism has taught me, is things are either inside your control or outside your control. And the more you focus on things outside of your control, the less control you actually end up having. So to sort of always tip the tables in your favor and make sure that, you know, any situation can be turned into a win, no matter how severe it may be. You just have to focus on your reaction, focus on what's in your control, and everything really can sort of work itself out from there. You know, obviously as things change, you just adapt. If something happens, a lot of the time it's going to be outside of your control. And for me in lockdown, obviously back then I was a personal trainer, so I was working on the gym floors. So you put a lockdown in place, that's my income going right out the window. So it was literally it was a sink or swim situation for the both of us really. And again, you learn to be adaptable. We started to grow online, we started to build a community, publishing content. Again, obviously I wasn't quite at the stage you was at. I think I had bands, some dumbbells, I had a newer gym, so I got a barbell. So for me, sort of being adaptable was everything. How would you sort of say, I know lockdown feels like ages ago, but at the same time, it almost feels like yesterday. But it's always good to sort of get people's perspective on this, because in our time, it was the first of its kind. So it's always good to sort of reflect and sort of speak what our experiences. But with you on lockdown, again, touching on being adaptable, how did you sort of find things through there?
So for me, it sounds really funny. I didn't partake in that. It didn't happen for me, which sounds strange, but I put myself in my own bubble. I didn't watch the news once. I knew that other businesses would be closing down, scared, and this is the opportunity where you can really make a difference. Just like in a recession, most people are scared. That's when you buy it all up and you win. So I just, honestly, I've never traveled around the UK more. I was up and down the country every day, building ramps, and it paid off, but it completely crippled my mental health at the same time, as well as building it up, because my stress tolerance went through the roof. But I couldn't shift it from 300 orders. I just wasn't set up for it. I had to really adapt through that business. To be honest, the gym came around on the final one. I think was the 3 lockdowns.
Something like that. Yeah, there was a good 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think when they opened gyms after the second one, I started getting back into my training. I believe I got back in touch with Jordan Peters for coaching. So then I was like serious on that again. And when they closed it, it was just like, fuck this. Because I was into it again then. I'd actually gone quite a while without training properly. I completely sacrificed everything for that business. So when I came out of that, it was just like, okay, this gym isn't being known to the council. it's
Yeah.
boarded up. Nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Um, and it was never really a plan. I did set, um, I made an Instagram page for the gym, for
Mm.
Train with Intent, probably 6 months before I actually even had a barbell
Mm.
or the unit. So the intention was there and the vision was there, and it was just, I think once you do that, it's just going to happen as
Yeah.
long as you're not delusional and not doing the actions required. But I was making the money through my business, and to be honest, starving that business and moving it into where my passion was taking me.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And obviously in sort of the process of, building intent and stuff like that, now obviously, you're placing a lot of focus on competing. Training is pretty much, the best it's been. Has competing
Yeah.
always been a goal for you? Is that always been, because Jim's obviously, even when skating and stuff, he was into the gym. Was the goal always to compete, or is it sort of progressed and snowballed over time?
Yeah, so when I started the gym, I was 18. My brother had put on some good size. He got me into it. So I had a really good um, knowledge straight off the bat. I was around good people. I didn't go through that sort of phase of not knowing what I was doing, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah.
Obviously, it could have been better, but and that was 2012. And I always said that I want to compete as a junior. I think it was 2012. 2016 was my last year as a junior, so I did compete with UKBFF. At the time, they were the IFBB affiliated federation. I think
Mm.
that's what you'd call it. They held the pro card. So I did go and compete with them. I got an invite to British. I didn't go. I wasn't up to standard, but I just wanted to tick that off while I was a junior.
Mm.
Um, then that was literally around the time that about a year or two after, then I got pulled away
Mm.
and started that business. Coming back into it was tough. Mentally, I thought I've lost a certain edge.
Yeah.
I've lost that ability to sort of mind over matter. Like, oh shit, my legs are telling me to stop.
Mm.
No, like, and just my mind overriding that.
Yeah.
That came back just through practice again. Sorry, I'm off on a bit of a tangent here, but yeah, it's always been something, but now it's really clicked.
Yeah.
Um, I watched something the other day that was sort of like, I think you might have seen it on my story. I've posted a little bit about it, and it's been a bit of a revelation for me.
Mm.
Over the last few months, I've been really watching how, like Dorian, James Hollinshead,
Mm.
Jordan Peters, and certain old school bodybuilders, how they lived, trained,
Mm.
and the path they walked,
Yeah.
and trying to follow that path. Um, so I think that's what's clicked for me at the moment. I'm very much, it's like not how do I do it, who do I need to become, and I'm watching these people that have done what I want to do,
Yeah.
and just going down that path. So at the moment, like you said, training's all time best.
Yeah.
Appetite, I can just eat everything because I've shifted from that kid that struggled to eat to just adopting someone else's character,
Yeah.
something that I admired in them. I've gone and taken for myself just through looking at the path they've walked and then walking that.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
I don't know if I actually answered the question there, but
No, no,
uh,
it's good. Obviously, again, everything about this podcast so far, it almost, no matter what we speak about, it's always going to 360 and circle back to the fact that you have a purpose and you have a vision. And whilst, there may not be sort of like black and white details, you basically just sort of navigate through things thinking what you feel is best, and most importantly, what you feel to be true. Sort of what we covered on the last podcast, and this was sort of with the Western world and sort of like the standard and the modern day man is, I find that we live in a society where everybody feels to be correct rather than true. So everybody's in a rush to say, if whatever's politically correct or whatever they need to subscribe to gain validation from other people, and within that, people lose the idea of being true to themselves. So obviously, you
yeah,
be your competitive career, identifying who it is that you need to be to get these goals ticked off. Um, And I think as well, not rushing the process. And obviously, you've been sort of getting hounded with when you're going to be competing because you hold condition quite well all year round. So you've been sort of
Yeah.
inundated with, when you're going to compete, but you sort of get that set thing of, right, this is going to when it's happened. You're okay with sort of it because it's 2024 you're looking at, isn't it?
It's when I've got to make sure that I'm not. It's when the vision's there, like when I see what I want to see.
Mm.
But then I've also got on the flip side of that, it's like, well, why don't you go get some experience? I've only competed once. Wouldn't it be good to get some experience? But in my mind, I've got a certain vision for when I step out on that stage. I don't know if you've ever been to a show where someone just gives you goosebumps. There's
Yeah,
been a few people for me. I want to do that to myself.
yeah, yeah.
So there'll come a moment, and I was very close to it. Then as I got deeper into the last diet I did, I started to see these weak points that I'm like, no, it's not ready. I'm not. I don't think it's like I'm crippled by perfection.
Mm.
There, I think it's just like I'm stubborn on that vision where it's
Mm.
like I love training and bodybuilding for more than competing.
Right.
So for me, it's like I don't really want to display it till it's ready.
Yeah.
Um, it, I'll pose. I love posing. I'll post. Like I'm happy with how I look. I always have been. But to get up there, I want to peck people out. To be honest, a little bit, which sounds a bit weird, but I want it to be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Not in like a freaky way, but just like, wow. And I want to think that when I look back at that.
Mm.
So I'm in no rush to do that. And it's just a case of knowing that, okay, I'm on this path and I'm doing the things that I'm doing what's necessary to get to where I'm going, and I don't need it any quicker. I mean, this is the fun part. When I
Mm.
get there, it's like, well done. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to get straight back to training and doing what I'm doing. If I don't enjoy this part, then there's no need to do it. So that's why there's no rush at all.
Yeah.
Because I honestly love every part of what goes into getting there.
Yeah, yeah. It almost sort of links into the whole, success leaves clues. You mentioned there sort of two things of wanting to make sure you do it when you're ready, and obviously, making sure that you can create a statement when you do showcase your physique to people. And we look at sort of Jordan Peterson and particularly Dorian Yates, both of them embody that for that sort of ideology. Jordan Peterson, I would always wish to step up to see him step on stage, and it was one of them ones where he'd do lengthy off seasons, he'd get ridiculously strong, and he would, despite getting asked loads and loads of times, he wouldn't step on stage until he saw ready. We look at Dorian Yates with the way that he trained, you saw his physique, it was eye-opening shit. So again, you've
Yeah,
looked at these people, success has left clues, and these are sort of the ideologies that you're beginning to adopt and bring on with yourself, which is good to see.
yeah, and I think that's what guides you. It's um, somebody asked me on my story the other day, "What's your goal this year?" And it's just like the goal is to acquire what I admire. Like if I admire something in somebody, I'm going after that because I want to admire myself. Um, if I act in ways that I don't admire in someone or something that's like disgusting for me, or then I'm going to be disgusted in myself, and I've got to pay attention to that.
Yeah,
It's almost like being guided by the person I can be.
yeah,
So it's like the person I can be is letting me know every time I fuck up. It's like making me feel guilt, regret, shame, and telling me, mate, you're doing the wrong thing. Get back on the path.
yeah,
At the same time, he's already got all the things that I admire. He's seen what he wants,
yeah.
and guiding me towards that. Sounds a bit weird, but I do like to think of it as two separate people, and
Yeah.
it's my choice to move towards that.
Yeah, of course. It's something that I've adopted heavily myself. There's a famous Matthew McConaughey speech. I'm sure a lot of the people, potentially even yourself, have seen it. And it's the idea that he's got this vision of his future self, the one that he, has done it all, ticked all the boxes. And he may not get there in the end, but it's the fact that he's moving forwards and the fact that he's going in the right direction that matters
Yeah,
more. And obviously, I'm very visual. In order for me to sort of be high performing, high value, I obviously like to have a lot of boards. I've got goals. I've got like not motivational boards, but I've got a lot of images that spark out my purpose and have like a lot of emotional connection to me. So I've got a black and white vision of what it is that I want to achieve, what it is I want to, accomplish and tick off. And the main thing that I've found is it just makes waking up so much more easier. There is nothing better than going into a training session, making sure that you've got, your pre-workout meal ticked off, waking up in the morning, you've got a clear focus on what needs to be done. And I'm sort of a focus of becoming robotic with the process. And I feel like
Yeah,
you up to that, especially with the bodybuilding does bring that out in you, in the fact that you just sort of, right, this is what's happening, this is what's next. And even when you do step on stage and you take the first place, you take what's yours. I know for a fact it's just going to be right. What's next? What can we do? What can we improve on more?
yeah. I mean, if you're doing that and you're doing everything that you can as well, and it doesn't matter where a place. If a place last, yeah, I wouldn't be very happy. I'm there to win, but it's like, well, I gave everything, and I enjoyed every step of the way. Like I enjoyed the shit out of it, so why would I be disappointed?
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I got off on one again there.
No, it's good. These are the stuff that we want to get an insight into, understanding you as an individual, understanding the brand. We're sort of picking it apart now. We're sort of seeing what's at the root cause of everything. And we've covered a lot of this now, but I guess in regards to your journey into bodybuilding, as it's sort of consuming you a little bit more now, what are some of the lessons from bodybuilding that you find yourself applying to general sort of day-to-day basis? I know your life is very bodybuilding oriented, but even if you was to answer it for the people on the podcast that aren't necessarily as bodybuilding orientated, what are some of the lessons that you found that can be beneficial to day-to-day life?
A lot.
Yeah.
Literally everything I do.
Yeah.
I think in school, I was able to get by just through the common sense. Not that interested, only in sort of like maths and DT and practical sort of things, problem solving. Certain things I just wasn't interested in. So coming out of school, I thought that maybe I wasn't able to apply myself. But then, apart from my driving test, which was the first thing I was like, oh shit, I can apply myself if I really want something. The work that I was doing at the time, I was able to put the work in, do the hours, like £3 an hour or something, but I was able to put the work in and see something back from it. I was working for my driving lessons, and getting something from that, but enjoying every sort of moment. Like I would get better at washing dishes, I'd get better at cutting up vegetables. This was before I trained, and this is where I think it started to evolve. Where it's like I actually loved pot washing because I was just going to do it better every day.
Yeah.
And I knew that in the end, I'd have my car and I'd have my driving lessons. And I did. That sort of taught me that I get what I put in. And then from that, that obviously applies to the gym. So going into the gym, that taught me even more that, oh shit, like if I set a plan, stay consistent, I can get to where I want to go. The biggest thing for me was like everyone would always say, oh, I hate leg day. It's hard and I don't like it. I would show up every time and just say, I love it. I didn't.
Yeah.
But all along I did. So every week at the moment, I'm going in and I'm like, stick another 10 on there.
Yeah.
It's the same as last week. It's not any heavier. Just literally head fucking myself into loving it and loving leg day and loving the pain to the point where, I don't know if you listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of his stuff. And I might butcher this, but he talks about like the body and the mind and sort of the sometimes you're on autopilot.
Yeah.
So you might have like a certain habit that you're doing where your body tells you to quit. You've got like a chemical reaction going on in your body and it's like, oh shit, stop. And it's learning to sort of override that in the mind. And the mind actually being the mind rather than the body being the mind.
Yeah.
That's what he sort of talks about. And for me, when I started learning about that, it was like, oh shit, leg day taught me that. Because I'd be on that leg press at first and I'm going, my legs are going, oh shit, I need to stop. And it's telling my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, let's stop.
Yeah.
So my body is the mind there. The more I did it, the more I reprogrammed that. And every time my mind's like, no, we've done this.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going to the point where that's now an autopilot. I've done it that many times that my body is just a savage. And it's just like, my mind can even think, oh shit, I might be done. But these legs just aren't stopping because I've done it that many times.
Yeah.
So me, it really taught me that, like, I need to be in control. I can't let sort of chemical reactions and feelings and emotions run me. That's the body being the mind.
Yeah.
And I need to take control of that, if that makes sense.
No, no, of course it makes a lot of sense. It's sort of because again, obviously a big fan of Joe Dispenza myself. He's someone I've studied a lot, so he sort of focuses on, rewiring the brain, sort of get what it is that you want, becoming in tune with things. And it sort of reminded me of a book called the Chimp Paradox. So really, really good book on sort of like psychology, human behavioral patterns. And it sort of splits your mind into obviously like logic and emotion. So obviously the chimp of the human mind is very emotional, it's erratic, you can't really control it. It's quite chaotic in some senses. Whereas the logical part of the brain will obviously, conjugate, more positive decisions. It will sort of put you in control of the situation. So again, when you're in scenarios, obviously training legs, a lot of people do hate it. It's sort of listening. Do you want to listen to the chimp and let the chimp take control, or are you going to approach it more logically? And
Yeah.
ultimately, whatever you think on, the words that you think become the thoughts that you do, become the actions you do, and whatever you think on expands. So if you think you hate legs, if you are going into sessions and, you've got a weak top line or you need to be improving your back, whatever you begin to think on, if you begin to let those thoughts consume you, you're just going to have a weaker top line, a weaker back. You're going to keep hitting. If you can sort of rewire things, tip things in your favor, that's when you can turn these weaknesses into strengths.
Yeah. Like on a macro level, like you just said, or even on a micro level, like today, I didn't really wake up in character. I was almost waiting for that guy to show up.
Yeah.
He's going to bully me on that leg press. I wasn't that person when I woke up, but I had to switch into that. And yeah, so I've lost myself there a little bit. Yeah, gone. Sorry, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
There was something you said that triggered something, and then I can't quite get to the end of it, but that happens to me.
Nah, good thing to be focused on now. You sort of mentioned, obviously going into sessions, you was almost waiting for that guy to show up today and sort of he'd bully you into the leg press. You sort of within your sessions, especially this is known within the bodybuilding world, but controlled aggression, where do you sort of stand with that? You've obviously spoke quite passionately about how you sort of play games and essentially mindfuck yourself to create success. Does this sort of come out in your character when you train, or do you sort of control this aggression and sort of approach this calmly?
When I use aggression, the sets don't go well.
Right.
If I'm feeling aggressive, I'll use calm music. If I'm good, I'll use sort of heavier music to try and bring a little bit of intensity. But to be honest, I don't really use it. It's more just like today I went on the leg press, and that's what I was going to say. I went in and I wasn't feeling very strong.
Yeah.
But I didn't let myself say it. I didn't even let myself think it. I thought it, and I was like, "Fuck that."
Yeah.
Didn't say it to my brother who I was training with. I didn't think it one more time. Next warm up I did, I said, "Oh, fucking easy." Trying to get in my head. And then rather than me visualizing, oh shit, I might not even be able to move this stack. I'm so locked in on, oh, I'm going to fucking get 6. I can literally see those 6 reps. I can feel the tempo. And for me, it's just visualization. And if I'm angry, I'm not focused on that. If I go in my head and start to try and dig something up, like the gym is flow state for me. I can't be pulling that shit up. Like flow state, as you know from Dr. Joe Dispenza, is no time, no place, nowhere. Like I'm just
focused and plugged in.
I'm just locked in to that moment. And if I start pulling shit up, I'm going to take myself right out of that. So for me, I can't do that. It doesn't seem to work.
yeah,
If I do, that's when I get injured.
yeah,
I'm trying to like fuck you,
yeah,
like trying to put that through my set. I'm not focused on because my body knows how to hold itself. I've done this for 10, 11 years. My form is good on a lot of things. It can always get better. But if I start to take my body's attention away from that flow, my breathing's in tune with my tempo, everything's sort of standardized to a certain extent. If I start pulling myself away from that by trying to channel anger,
yeah,
it just ruins the moment for me.
yeah.
It just can't do it.
Yeah, I think as well, it's good to sort of get that perspective. I see sometimes people like the aggression, like the anger, but ultimately you sort of emotion is a very it has loose parameters, so you can't really tell whether emotion. Usually, when people are emotionally um sort of pushed to move forwards, they make choices that they don't necessarily want to make. Like you just said, when you approach with anger, injuries happen, consequences take place. So just by visualizing stuff, you spoke very heavily about visualizing what it is that you want. Again, those 6 reps, getting what it is that you want out of the leg press. Visualization sort of puts logic into the session. You don't really have to rely on emotion because you're going in and think, right, last week I got 5 reps, this week I need another 5 kilos and 6 reps, I'd say. So sometimes the visualization, as you sort of spoke so strongly about that, you don't really need to control the aggression to start with.
Yeah. And then like you said, with emotion, and I'm visualizing that 6 rep. If I don't get it, it's just feedback.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not attached to it. If I was channeling anger, I'm probably going to go in a strop after missing that rep, because I'm not sort of in control of. Well, you could be in control of it, but yeah, I just don't think it's a good idea for me. For some people it works, but yeah,
I think it's one of them ones, it just has a domino effect. Like, my training's important, but for me, the businesses that I run, how I can sort of perform, how I can apply deep focus, that also matters to me just as much, if not more. I've been in
yeah,
positions where like I'd miss a rep on deadlifts and it honestly just used to consume my entire day. And what would be a simple task now took. Obviously I don't always wake up motivated. Sometimes I've got to wait to warm up and be that guy. So if I'm letting just one small rep that has happened, the set has took place, if I'm letting that consume me, it's just going to have a knock-on effect for the rest of the day and it's almost like a disease. It begins to consume it. It's like a rotten apple or rust in metal. It just begins to spread rapidly, and anything negative life, whether it be toxicity, envy, jealousy, sadness, anger, it spreads unfortunately far more faster than things like happiness and fulfillment, because those are things that take time to flourish. But again, you let a deadlift set ruin you, and it just used to take over my entire day. Whereas now, if something happens, it happens. I would rather just complete the session, get in, get out, and just get on with the rest of the day.
yeah. I mean, what you're speaking about there is essentially you're taking a loss and you're dwelling on it, aren't you? And that's going to affect everything. Whereas if you take it as a lesson, like lessons, not losses, then like everything's a win, because it's like, oh shit, yeah, I can use this to improve.
Yeah.
Turn the
Yeah.
loss into a win, and you come out of that session
Mm.
fine. Yeah, I do get it when people dwell on missed reps. Whenever somebody does sort of get in their head with stuff like that, I do try and sort of get back in their head with like, well, what could it be? Let's just analyze it. It's just feedback. Like if you you need to listen to it, and then you can learn from it, turn it into a win, and it can carry you through the day in a positive way,
Yeah.
like you just said.
Yeah, I think there almost has to be a sense of accountability to it, and I mean that in a raw sense. Like if you are getting in your emotions about too many things, you have to just take accountability for your emotions. It's not just your actions, and there's always a lesson to be learned from everything. I literally went to play snooker last night, and obviously you've seen some of the videos that I posted, and it's good to sort of see the message work.
Uh,
Um, first frame I played, it was an absolute whitewash. I don't even think I reached 10 points. The guy cleared up everything, and he played with another guy, and he actually went and snapped his cue just because of his
okay,
out of sheer anger. Because obviously
okay,
he lost that frame and he lost multiple frames. And for me, I lost that frame, and the second frame I still lost, but I actually worked on my mistakes, because when I
yeah,
see a loss, a particular lesson in snooker, somewhere along the line it's because I played a shot miscorrectly. So there's a lesson to be learned from that. I
yeah,
could easily let emotion take over and get in a sulk over it. again, it's just going to consume the rest of the frames, and one loss will turn into 8 losses. So sometimes just thinking of everything as a lesson has helped me like 10 times in life.
Yeah. I mean, there's something I listened to recently. I can't pronounce his name. Master Shet begins with S.
Yeah.
Like a monk fella. I don't know his name. But he talks about kind of staying neutral. He calls it being unshakable.
Mm.
The video is on YouTube. It's called Unshakable Master
Mm.
Shy something. And he speaks about, this is what you've just made me think about with the guy snapping his cue, is how did he react when he won? Was he buzzing?
Yeah, yeah, he was quite happy with it. Yeah.
So what you did was you kept your emotions neutral, so
Yeah.
you didn't crash down.
Yeah.
And he's gone right up.
Mm.
Can't control it either way. So in this video, he talks about learn to control that before you. So if somebody gives you a gift,
Mm.
be grateful. Don't be too happy. You
Yeah.
can still show emotion, but don't like let emotion control you. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. I'm not explaining that very well, but yeah, it's that fluctuation in emotion that you can't control. You end up on a bit of a roller coaster. Whereas if you can learn to, like you did, keep that level where that loss didn't crush you.
Yeah.
If you won, you wouldn't have like been a
Exactly.
sore winner, is to say.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Like, yeah, I've lost myself a bit there, but
Yeah.
that's a really interesting thing I've been sort of looking at the moment.
Yeah, and it does make a lot of sense. I mean, you can sort of apply that now into different sports. I mean, Conor McGregor, for example, we had the Mac era, and whilst I'm not a UFC fan, he's someone I've always sort of not, I don't really look up to anyone, but someone I've sort of had a lot of respect for. I invested myself into a lot of his journey, and you've had these massive highs, and I know it was part of his marketing character anyway, but again, you had the Mac era, he was untouchable, and now he's just sort of, again, he's been sort of, he was a sore winner, which I quite like how you've spun that really, and now obviously, he's got comebacks, he's took losses, and I feel like the hard, eventually, it's just basic physics, whatever goes up must come down at some point, so
Yeah,
by being neutral. And again, it is what Stoics preach. The good life often references to just pure fulfillment, peace, comfort. That necessarily isn't all the riches in the world, nor is it the poorest of the poor. It's just maintaining that neutral element of your emotions and
yeah,
quality.
definitely. Why is it you don't look up to anyone?
Because in a non-cocky way, they still bleed the same blood, they still breathe oxygen. So if someone else can be competent to achieve great things, why not me? Like it's equally possible for them to do it as it is just
Yeah,
for me to do it. And I feel like the second I look up to
yeah,
someone, it's embedding a stone in the sense that they're above me, and I don't think anyone is above me. I feel like it's an
I
equal
like.
playing field for everybody.
Yeah, no, I ask because I'm very similar there.
Yeah,
I don't idolize anyone, but there's people, like I say, have walked the path.
yeah,
They're somewhere I want to be, and I admire certain things about them. And it's like, okay, I'm getting after that
yeah,
because I want to admire myself in that way. But it's not that I glorify that person, or like, I think I've never been like a real sports fan. Even
yeah,
with bodybuilding, there's not. I don't really watch
mm,
recent bodybuilding and properly fan over people. I can appreciate things, but um, it's always without being cocky. It's like I want to do that, and I can do that. I think there's something on my highlights. Um, it's a Gary V video. I can't remember the guy that was talking about it. It's on my Instagram highlights. You'd probably like this if you haven't seen it. And this guy, his dad asked him once, who's the best player in the field in the stadium. They were at like a football game, and the guy said he named all the players. This kid, um, and his dad's like, no, no, no. He's named everyone, and
yeah,
he's like, well, who is it? And he's like, he's in the stand, but he's someone else's name on the back of his jersey
yeah,
because he never believed that he could do it. He just was a
yeah,
fan. Um, that touched me a few years ago when I saw that, and which is why I asked sort of why you don't really idolize anyone. Um, and it was very interesting. It sort of opened my eyes to why I've never really been a massive like fanboy over anything or anyone. Um, I don't think it's jealousy or
no,
not wanting someone else to have success, it doesn't take anything away from mine, but it's like, I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
I can appreciate greatness
Yeah.
and things that people do, but I would never be able to, which is funny because I do wear different people's brands,
Yeah.
but that wearing someone else's name on the back of the
Yeah.
jersey thing really sort of got me.
I think as well, it almost links into validation because the second you put someone else above you, you let their what the you know the epitome of who they are and their levels and measures of success, and it begins to influence your choices. And even Emerson said it is imitation is suicide. So the more that you begin to try emulate others, the more that you're just going to be a B-Tech version of them. And
Yeah,
this is why, for example, even in like my business plans and stuff like that, whenever I've sort of redefined like who my audience is, my avatar, I've never ever included competition because anybody that even wants to try copy whatever I'm doing or my other competition, I don't even pay no attention to it because even if you do try to emulate me, the second you get closer, I'm already going to be levels of front because I'm just focused on me. So
yeah,
7-8 billion people on this world, and there's only one you and there's only one me. So there's never ever going to be another version of you and me other than what we have right now. So
yeah,
it's just a case of being committed to, what it is that you can do within your best control and being the best version of you rather than a B-Tech version of someone else.
yeah. I sort of I had that with the ramp business. I had a lot of businesses pop up, probably 20.
Yeah.
Some did a bit better than others. Literally just copying my designs, which is fine. Um, it it made what I wanted 3 years prior more available to people, which is cool. Um, it's like when somebody shares, some coach shares something and everyone copies it. It's like, okay, good. Well, the message is getting out there. At least people are sharing the right thing, as long as it is the right thing.
Mm.
Um, but I had a lad working with me, and he was always so focused on the competition. And you get this with people
Yeah.
in bodybuilding, where they're getting ready for a show and they're focusing on other people and like, oh, I'm going to destroy him. I'm
Yeah.
going to this. And in the back of their mind, they're not thinking that. I put money on the fact that they're a little bit nervous and think they're actually doubting themselves a little bit. I turn to the lad every time and I just go, I'm not competing against them.
Mm.
Like, I'm literally just doing my own thing.
Yeah.
I do think it's good to be competitive,
Mm.
but I think it goes back to without being cocky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm doing the best I can do, and I believe that can be better
Yeah.
than what this person's doing. I don't see them as a threat.
Mm.
Whereas I think some people get too caught up in things they can't control and other people, and they're just focused on the wrong end of the scale. Like, don't know if I've explained that very well, but
Yeah. No, it does again. Like it's sometimes as well, and I find this particularly with like when people leave negative comments on other people's posts. There's a lot of envy, there's a lot of jealousy about, and often when people leave a negative post, you can just think, are they leaving that comment for the actual individual, or they're leaving it actually for themselves? Because I found that people speak based off of reflections. See it all the time in bodybuilding. You'll see someone well, not maybe in bodybuilding, but you'll see someone who is really, really good physique. First thing they always say is steroids, or he's done this, or someone will have a nice car, they'll say, oh, it's daddy's money or something like that. And more often than not, is they're speaking from an internal dialogue that they haven't yet faced in the mirror, and they're saying,
yeah,
really, that guy's done something that I haven't done, and I ain't got the balls to essentially come face to face with that. It's easier to speak with reflection.
you've nailed it there. They don't reflect, and it brought back something I heard recently, which is if you don't reflect, you project.
That-
So which nails it. They're not reflecting on what they could do better, so they project their shortcomings onto someone else or their emotions or whatever they're struggling with.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, and then you get into the whole cycle of, misery loves company. So you've got another person saying exactly what we spoke about. They need another person to then continue to validate those choices. And that's when you can almost get these camps of just toxic, negative people where they just never flourish, same shitty qualities of life. And they live this life where they can't really have those conversations with themselves. Even just on the whole sort of games and ways of life, I feel like you have to learn to spend time with yourself, learn to sort of validate your own company. Just by doing
Yeah,
little stuff like that, you can really gain some head going on.
it's a shame to see it, because as you know, you think you mentioned earlier, with Dr. Joe Dispenza, they'll be stuck in a cycle of negative thoughts, actions, and emotions, and that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches his formula: think, act, feel.
Yeah,
And you just want to shake them
yeah,
and tell them to stop thinking and acting and feeling those. Like, it doesn't feel good to be miserable, but
yeah,
people are that addicted to it that they just choose it. And if they could just change their actions, that would change the. They try and change the thought,
mm,
with another thought, and Dr. Joe Dispenza says it takes a while to change that. But if you can change it through action, like, um, you're not feeling very loved, well, go and show someone some love, and oh shit, I kind of feel like I'm loved a little more. And you start thinking and feeling different ways and acting certain ways and get into a new cycle. But it's fucking hard to break,
yeah,
um, especially if you've been doing that for years. It's
yeah.
sad to see.
Yeah, I think as well, like even with sort of like trauma and sort of negative relationships, for example, I've obviously grew up in the care system. People will go through these things and they'll let their traumas and let their sort of particularly past, they'll let their past and trauma almost form their character trait. And the reason why they hold on
Yeah,
to it so much is because they don't know who they are without it. And it just sort of links back to the whole they'll let it consume them, and really they sort of can't have that conversation because they don't know who they are outside of those negative things.
yeah, and it's all they've felt, so
Yeah.
they'll actually listen to music and speak about it in a way that sort of, um, like, it just keeps them stuck, trapped there. They'll listen to music to feel that way. Like,
Mm.
we've all been through something where we're like literally putting on music to make ourselves feel shit because we just want to feel shit. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
Um, so when you can pull yourself out of that and go, actually, yeah, fuck that, fuck those lyrics, they're not helping me. I don't want that in my head,
Yeah.
and replace it with something positive,
Yeah.
then difference.
Yeah. But I guess obviously, we've covered quite a lot in the episode. Again, we went off some really good tangents. I'm probably going to say that the back end of this podcast has been my favorite as the entirety of the podcast so far. So we've covered a lot
All
of good
right.
things. I guess obviously in regards to, goals for the year, sort of what we can expect for you, and obviously sort of you're in the process of competing for next year. Is there anything, I know again you've already said it, but what sort of can we expect, for the rest of the year from you really? What's on the horizon?
Um, I, I'm just trying to get out of my way.
Yeah.
I think that's what everyone needs to do, and not to tell anyone what to do, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? Just get out your own way,
Yeah.
um, as best you can. I get in my way a lot. I overthink a lot. Um, just try and realize and bring my full potential to fruition. Really,
Yeah.
um, everything I've done, I've winged, and
Yeah.
I've over exceeded expectations for myself. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to see what I can do, um, if I actually aim a little higher. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to keep looking at people that have achieved what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Success leaves clues. I'll just keep walking that path, and I'll be patient because I'll enjoy it,
Yeah.
and it'll take me to where I want to be.
Yeah. I definitely
And
think even just by going through this podcast, like the answers that you were giving at the start versus the answers that you're giving now, it's sort of almost like, you navigate through your passions, you navigate through sort of what you believe to be true. But I think it's also worth sort of just acknowledging you as an individual and the stats that you've actually created. And sort of, for example, one thing I always do when I wake up in the morning is I tell myself I'm the one. I tell myself I'm capable. Like Scarface, have you seen that movie before?
yeah, I have, yeah.
Favorite movie of all time. And one of
Long
the
time.
yeah, one of my all-time favorite movies, and it literally just says the world is yours. And I feel like
Oh yeah,
some just sort of affirming that you've anything is possible. You can literally just sort of it instills a set level of high standard confidence within you.
yeah,
Even looking into like everything that you've mentioned from sort of building a brand. I know you don't look very much into the business analytical side of things. Everything that you've said has been bang on to a T when I'm sort of teaching people themselves how to build a brand. So everything that you're doing, just as a message of kind words, you're literally moving in the right direction at quite a
I
rapid.
appreciate that. Yeah, cheers, mate. I'm definitely working on almost that self-talk. I think you show up as the younger self and potentially the person you don't want to be, and it's moving into that person you do want to be and reminding yourself what you're capable of. But yeah, it gets hard sometimes, especially if it doesn't actually. It's about keeping that momentum going and making sure you're stacking the wins. Something I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent again. I just chat shit, to be honest. It's like when I've heard something else recently. I literally just pull quotes when some things will get said, and it'll just trigger thoughts. When a man is right, his world will be right. Someone asked me on my story if I was doing okay, and it's like, well, some days I'm shit because I'm shit. Like, and you just spoke about confidence, which what brought this to my mind. It's like, okay, you can be confident, but only you show up for yourself and don't let yourself down and prove to yourself that you can do these things. Like, you've stacked these wins and you've shown yourself what you can do. So that's why you're able to wake up and go, I'm the man. If someone was watching this now and going, oh, I don't feel like that. How do I feel like that? It's like, okay, well, wake up and make yourself proud. Because you're not going to be very confident in a friend that never shows up, says he's going to show up all the time, but doesn't. So I think that's important. People sort of start to go to the gym and think, oh, it's going to build confidence. And yeah, it will once you start showing up for yourself, but only in that area, really. Can transition to other areas. Confidence is I could talk about that all day because I'm not very confident. I was nervous as fuck at the start of this. My voice cracks. But then we start really getting into things that I have thought about and spoken about a lot. And I'm confident to talk about them. It might sound like gibberish sometimes because it's all just, I'm digging for it. So yeah, it's an interesting one, confidence is. Because you tell me to go do some surgery on someone, oh, fucking hell, I'm not very confident of that. I'm not even touching it. Go tattoo someone, I'm not confident of that. I've never done it. So yeah, it's a good topic. That is for a good hour on that, I reckon.
Yeah, I think as well, you know, adversity breeds success. The more sort of hardship you can create, the more sort of, you know, things that you can overcome in regards to barriers, the more that you're just going to keep prevailing and create more success. And ultimately, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. So if you tell yourself you're going to believe it to be true and it's going to continue to expand, you tell yourself that you're right, tell yourself that you're going to do something. Again, eventually, it may not happen straight away, but it is going to take place eventually in time to come.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but we'll wrap the podcast episode there. I mean, I'll be honest, I could have carried on going, but we're covering over an hour now. So we'll wrap the episode up there, guys, and we will see you guys for the next one soon.